What is up, everyone, and welcome to another Bitcoin market update. In these videos, you will learn how to use technical analysis to forecast price movements in your favorite cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others. So before we get into the analysis, I just want to briefly comment that everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. All right, so starting off with Bitcoin on the monthly time frame here. So we see we have some increasing bull volume here coming off of our higher low that we set here in June. Now remember, because of the magnitude of this move that we saw right here, pretty significant drawdown of over 55%, it's unlikely that we're going to come up and form a higher high immediately. More likely that we'll come up, form a lower high, and then come down again. And then now at this point, since we've risen so much, likely form a higher low. So it's a matter of where is that lower high going to be set. Now, right now, it's looking like this month next month rather, is going to see some continuation if the candle closes and looks something like this with a short upper wick of profit taking. If we see the candle close more closely to the open, that's going to give us confidence that our high may have been set here on the monthly time frame, and then next month we'll look to come down and try and form that higher low somewhere above that roughly 28.8 low that we set there in June. So that's what I'm currently watching in the monthly time frame. What we'll likely see is what's called an equilibrium pattern, which we already have kind of playing out here with a high, low, lower high, higher low, and then potentially another lower high, potentially another higher low, and then a breakout to the upside. Or you could even see something where we come up from a lower high, we come down from a higher low, and then we just go up from there. But either way, the price is tightening up and getting ready for a blast off in either direction, really. So either going to the upside here or breaking down to the downside. So that's that pattern, whichever way this monthly equilibrium pattern breaks, is going to give us direction for the coming years. Because it's on the monthly time frame, that pattern will take several months to actually run its course. And so if this gets tighter and tighter, and then we break out to the upside, that could really see a significant move up thereafter. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on. This monthly candle closes in 2 days and 7 hours, so I'll be watching that candle close. This week, we've been talking about this for several weeks now, and finally it looks like we're going to get that candle close that we need to come down and set our higher low. It looks like this week we're going to be setting our high here up at about 50,594. And the reason why I think that to be the case is because we've risen for about 6 weeks now. And you can see we've started to kind of curl off here. So we had a lot of velocity at the beginning, but it's starting to lose some strength. If we look at the RSI, you can kind of see that as well. It's kind of tapering off and curling here as we go and as we reach higher prices. The other thing is the volume also kind of mirroring that as well with declining bull volume. Now this exchange has increasing here slightly, but the other exchanges, as I've been pointing out in the previous videos, have had declining bull volume all of the last 4 weeks. And now we're seeing bear volume for the first time in 5 weeks. So this is not insignificant. And if we close this candle below the open and confirm this bearish candlestick here on the volume, we will likely next week go down and break the low of this weekly candle, which is at 46,254. And then we'll look to set our higher low somewhere above the previous low that we set at 29,254. Now there's a lot of distance in between here and here. So the further down we travel, the more likely it is that we're not going to be able to go to a higher high immediately thereafter. But if we form a higher low that's very close to where our high was set, let's say we form it right around 45K, that will likely lead to a higher high shortly thereafter, given that we are so close to that high when we set that higher low. So if we're looking for a weekly higher low to be set, if we start to come down, where do we think that will be? Well, we have to start off on the 3-day time frame and go down from there. So if we look at this from a 3-day perspective, we can see that right now it's looking like we have some declining bear volume here. We had, if we look at the candlesticks themselves, We've already bounced off of this blue support zone here after getting our candle close above. So we have one bounce. And now if we come into this again on the 3-day time frame, we may see a second bounce, or we may go below that. So at this point, it's seeming more likely that we bounce versus go to the downside through this level, even though we've bounced off of it once. Typically, 3-day levels take more than one attempt to go through. You can see that based on this support level here. We had one bounce, two bounce, and then the third time we broke through it. And then similarly here, we can see that we have one rejection, two rejections, and we're going into it a third time here. So I'm not exactly sure on the 3-day time frame where things are going to end up, given that we're kind of chopping around right now up here, deciding on where we're going to go next. So let's go down to the daily time frame and get a little bit more clarity on what we're dealing with there. So from a daily perspective, you can see that there's a lot of indecision up in these price areas. Really anywhere from 50,594 down to about 46,260. You can see the price, bulls and the bears have been battling it out here with a lot of movement over the course of a few days. So now that we are looking at the daily time frame, we can see it's just a lot of chop here. There's no established trend in this zone. And what that tells us is to go down to the lower time frames and see if there's an established trend. But right now, before we do that, we want to be cognizant of the fact that this resistance level is getting weaker with every test. So the fact that we've hit it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and now this is the 5th time we're testing it, is significant. And this means that the more times we test this and get a rejection like we've gotten every single time here, the more likely it is that when we test it again the next time, we're gonna break through it. And so that's what I'm watching here on the daily time frame, is to see, can we break above this single day time frame resistance level that goes up to about 51.6? And if so, can we get 2 daily candle closes above that? Because if we do, that level will turn into a support zone for price, and we could see something like this, where if we go above that, we close 2 candlesticks above it, then we come back down below, we retest this, and you could put your stop loss below the daily zone if you're looking to go long on there, and then we go up from there. Now, it's important when we're looking at these lower time frames to keep in mind those high time frames like the monthly and weekly, like we talked about. We still need that weekly time frame drawdown. So on the daily time frame where I'm looking for the potential higher low to be set, as I highlighted in yesterday's video, is somewhere inside of these investor EMAs on the Super Guppy indicator. So Super Guppy indicator, it's kind of a tongue twister to say, is really just a collection of exponential moving averages here. We have the fast EMAs here, and then the slower EMAs here. So when we have the slower EMAs below the faster, we can see we're in a bullish position with the EMAs providing support when we go into them. But you can see that since we've flipped from bearish to bullish, we haven't even tested the investor EMAs yet. So once we do test those investor EMAs, that's a potential area for an entry to participate in the upside of this trend if we are to continue. Typically, I like to buy on the first test of those because it provides usually a very fertile profit potential opportunity. And you can see that right here, that's what we have here, the first test of them. We expand, here's an entry right here, boom, we get a rejection there after, plus 20%. If we go down to the beginning of this trend here, we start to expand. Here's your first opportunity right here. You get in, here's a 20% move right here. And then you can just keep holding that and riding the trend as long as that trend is live. And you can add, whenever you go back into that kind of zone. So from a standpoint right here, this is starting at about 46.1 and goes down to about 42.2. So anywhere in that zone is likely where our higher low is going to be set, in my personal opinion. So that's where I'm going to be looking for price to head to. If you look at this from a 6-hour perspective, you can see that this yellow resistance zone that I charted out several days ago is still holding up as our main resistance zone for price. We've rejected off of it now, once, twice, 3 times, and now 4 times really. So 4 times in this resistance zone. Eventually, we're going to break above it. Once we do, that's going to be where I'm looking for price to potentially bounce off of this if we close 2 candlesticks above it. So we'll see what happens here. Something else that I'm keeping an eye on is a potential for a inverse head and shoulders pattern here. So if we look here, we have left shoulder, head, and then right shoulder. And this is coming at the end of a drawdown. So you can see this drawdown that we've sustained here. We may be seeing an inverse head and shoulders pattern there. If we are, the measurement for that is from our head up to our neckline, which is right about here. That's about $3,118. So if we go and grab our measurement tool then from that point and go up $3,118, we get roughly about 52.5 is roughly where we would go to. So above that red resistance levels, and that's important to keep in mind because if we do go up to that target, what we'll be looking for is to see if we can close the daily candle above that red target. And if so, we need 2 of those closes above that to turn that into a support level for price. So that's all I got for this one, guys. If you like this video, give it a like down below and subscribe for future educational content around cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. And if you haven't already, check out our beginner tactical analysis course that we released on Leutheria.com. You can get 20% off that course using the link in the description below. And this will teach you everything you need to know to get started trading these crypto assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others by learning things like trend analysis, candlestick analysis, volume analysis, technical indicators, and a variety of other interesting topics as well. And we do a lot of tutorial walkthroughs on TradingView that you'll find helpful also. So check that out, and until tomorrow, onward and upward.